Alright, so I wanted to take some time specifically to go over dealing with fractions and some alternative ways to deal with fractions when you're solving equations. That kind of uses the power of algebra for you. So take a look here. I got 2/3 times p plus 1/4 equals 5/12 times p minus 2. We have a lot of fractions involved. Now we've done a lot of examples. We could just hammer them out, do fraction arithmetic. We know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions. But there's some things we can do in algebra that will actually can make the problem a lot easier. So we know with algebra, we draw this line down the middle to help us know to do the same thing to both sides, right? So I add the same thing to both sides, multiply the same thing to both sides. I got to do the same thing to both sides so I keep things equal. Well, watch what happens if I do this. I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 12. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to take everything on the left side. I'm going to multiply by 12. So I'm making the left side 12 times bigger. I'm going to write it as 12 over 1. You'll kind of see in a minute why. And if I do it on the left side, I got to do it on the right side and multiply everything times 12. You might already see where I'm going with this, but let's do the multiplication and see what happens. So I use the distributive property. 12 times 2 is going to be 24 over 3p. 12 times 2 is 24, 1 times 3 is 3. And then we distribute the other one. There we go. 12 times 1 is 12 over 1 times 4 is 4. Now I got the other side. Let's distribute this 12. 12 times 5 is 60. And 1 times 12, as that's multiplied by p. And minus 12 times 2 is just 24. Well, let's take a look at all my fractions now. I multiplied everything by 12. 24 divided by 3 is just 8. That's nice. 12 divided by 4 turns into 3. That's pretty convenient. 60 divided by 12 is 5. And I still have 24. Now look at this whole equation I've got. That's a much friendlier equation to solve. There's no more fractions involved. And how did we get there? Well, we had a denominator of 3, a denominator of 4, and a denominator of 12. So if that's my fractions, and then think of fractions as division, multiplying everything by 12 is going to undo all the fractions because 3, 4, and 12 are all, they all divide evenly into 12. So 12 is a multiple of 3, 4, and 12. So if you want to deal with a problem with fractions, if you want to just solve it out and not worry about fractions through your step-by-step process, sometimes your good first step is to make everything bigger, multiply both sides by some number. That gets rid of all the fractions. Okay, now let's crunch this thing out. I'm going to go through this quickly here. Subtract 5p from both sides. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. We end up with 3p. That turns to 0. That turns to 0 equals negative 27. If I divide both sides by 3, p equals negative 9. And look how easy that was to solve once I did all my work with dividing by fractions.